to another stream and another live. There we go. We are set up and ready to go. Hopefully another great stream, another great live. We'll get some more people in. Cybersecurity Q&A. Hello, 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 and welcome guys. Welcome guys joining another cybersecurity Q&A live stream where we try and help people answer all the cybersecurity questions, talk about cybersecurity careers, talk about cybersecurity skills, and stuff like that. So as usual, I'm going to spend an hour or so just chatting. As I always say, you know, through these streams, I guess, you know, thanks, Mohammed. You know, it's hard to, you know, especially through the last, you know, videos that I've been creating and stuff like that. There's a lot of, you know, comments that are DMs, which I can't always answer in time. So, you know, doing a bit of these live streams to answer some of the questions, to talk about cybersecurity career, to, you know, remove any uncertainty that you have in your cybersecurity journey, whether you are new, whether you are changing career and stuff like that. So Moneybags starts with question. I'm based in UK. Do I have to be good at Python to manage into cybersecurity? No, you do not. Python is already a necessity, you know, way down the line in your career, or, you know, advanced skill set. Do you do cybersecurity? Yes, I've been in cybersecurity for over 10 years. 20. So no, Moneybags, you don't need to be an expert in Python, especially not in the beginning of your career and journey. So, you know, what's your take on Hack the Box? Yeah, Hack the Box is great, you know, similar to Try Hack Me. It has great potential to learn some of the skills, to start experimenting early in your career. You know, you can learn a lot in there. But the only thing I always say, Hack the Box and Try Hack Me are great starting point, but they're simulated environments that give you limited exposure to skills and knowledge. So the next level up is building your own home lab. How to transition to cybersec with customer service admin experience. Same as everywhere, is just, you know, learning the knowledge. So understanding operating systems, hardware, learning networking, learning security fundamentals, and then acquiring the necessary skills via home labs, and, you know, Try Hack Me and all those kind of environments. But that's kind of the way to go. Spretsy says, looking to land my first DevSecOps role, been applying for 8 months. Can I show you my GitHub? You can definitely show me, but you know, it's not all about GitHub. It's about what skills do you have, what you experience you have. That's the most important thing while moving into DevSecOps. Well, if you got the basics of IT, Moneybags, then you can probably, you know, refresh your memory, you know, watch a couple of A+ videos. But the best next step is jumping straight into networking and learning security fundamentals, you know, so network plus, security plus, and then it's about skills building. And he says, which is best Linux for hacking? Kali Linux, obviously. What to learn when studying cyber? You need to learn IT fundamentals, networking fundamentals, and security fundamentals. I have a bachelor's and master's degree in computer science. Do I still need certification for a job? Yes, here, I always say certificates are not a necessity, but you need to have the knowledge and the skills. What you learn in computer science does not necessarily merit that you have enough skills to go straight into cybersecurity. App says, I'm preparing for CompTIA network and security and Microsoft Azure right now. Any tips, brother? How can I give you tips, Abs? You need to give specific questions. This is very vague. Nobody can give you tips based on that sentence. Don says, I'm transitioning to cybersecurity and I have been learning consistently. I'm aiming CompTIA Sec Plus. Yeah, good stuff, Don. But make sure that, Don, you don't skip networking. So, I've seen too many times people jump straight into CompTIA Sec Plus. You can't neglect the networking knowledge. You don't necessarily need Network Plus certificate, but you need to know the material pretty much inside out from Network Plus. Jump straight into security. Damn says, what's the most related major in uni to cybersec? Obviously, cybersecurity. There's cybersecurity degrees now, so that will be the most related. But again, I keep saying to this, you don't necessarily need a degree or go to university to go to cybersecurity. Amir says, yo, I'm making cybersecurity lab for me, white hat hacks. I'm going to do something. I assume there's missing message. Good stuff. Which laptop to study for cybersecurity? It doesn't matter which laptop. It has no relevance. You can do any laptop. The only thing, if you want to build home labs, you need is 16 gigabytes of RAM. Yeah. Calvin says, is Hack the Box good for cybersecurity? Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, it's good. One of the platforms. Obviously, you can't learn everything from Hack the Box, but it's good. It's good platform to practice and do stuff. In terms of how should I structure my studying and also gain practical experience as well. I don't know what you talking. We were talking Abs messages. Network. Well, you structure your learning. The most important thing, Abs, is building a home lab, and secondly, another most important thing is making sure that you are showcasing to the world how are you building those skills. So, LinkedIn, GitHub, or a blog. But LinkedIn probably is the best route. I'll keep saying it. You'll see. I think I published. Was it today or yesterday? I published a video about how to use LinkedIn. Too many of you guys are just learning and practicing in the hidden. You need to post at least 2-3 times a week. What you've learned, what rooms you passed in TryHackMe, what you've done with your home lab. Message people, build your network. LinkedIn is going to be the best thing you ever do for your cybersecurity career. I have one Cisco Network Academy certification. Okay, but do you have the skills necessary and the knowledge? I keep saying, certification proves that you know the theory. You see, it says, I have a degree plus skills, specifically programming, database, and stroke problem solving mindset. Okay, good stuff, you see. Yeah, no problem, Don. Yeah. Where do you start as a beginner? Ali, you start at the very beginning. You start by learning CompTIA A+ material, learning operating systems, hardware, how computers work. Yes, yes, Pat. I've got your GitHub link. Is MacBook okay for cybersecurity? Yeah, any computer is okay. Yeah. Doesn't matter what computer you have. MacBook, Windows, there's no relevance to that at all. Yeah, exactly, Abs. Yeah. Building home labs, uploading projects on GitHub and LinkedIn. You have to, LinkedIn, I always say, the network and the people you meet going to have way more importance than what you're going to learn. Because you never know who and when and where someone's going to open the door for you. You know, keep talking. You know, I was living proof and evidence that, you know, I've got my first job through, you know, other means than just applying. You know, I did webinars, I met people, I built LinkedIn. You know, LinkedIn is probably my biggest platform up to now, although TikTok is fastly catching up. But, you know, I've got so many opportunities for LinkedIn, you know, outside of even work. How much you can earn as a cybersecurity expert? Well, you can earn way into the six figures. So, you know, anywhere from 100K to millions potentially. Why do people talk down A+? They talk down A+ because people don't have a clue what they're talking about. You know, everyone thinks they are computer experts, even though they don't have a clue how computers actually work, how operating systems work. So a lot of people probably been given bad advice. That's why they probably talk it down. Which YouTube channel will recommend for learning SOC analysts? Graceful Mario. I don't remember the exact channel, but you probably want to learn the material for, like, you know, Network Chuck, Professor Messer for Security Plus and stuff like that. What's the best entry level for cybersecurity certificate? The free one, then later paid certificate. Tom, as I often say, there is no best certificate for anything. There is a certificates, you know, none of the certificates going to guarantee you a job in cybersecurity. They don't do much. All they do is essentially tick a box through HR requirements. And I always say I know many people who found a cybersecurity job with no certificates whatsoever. The most important thing is your knowledge, your ability and aptitude to learn things. No certificate's gonna, you know, unlock the magic door. But, you know, if you're looking at one certificate that appears on most job specs, that's CompTIA Security Plus. No, I started cybersecurity. Someone says it's starting at 17 cybersecurity late. No, I started my career in cybersecurity when I was 30. Yeah, no problem. Yes, sir. HD says, would you recommend to do an identity access management architecture? Any resources you might share? Well, you need to do then, you know, if you're talking about identity and access management, then you need to look at you need to look at things like vendor specific certs. So Okta has a cert, SailPoint has a certificate. I think Microsoft SC, is it SC 100? No, that's the architect. There is Microsoft. There is a Microsoft SC certificate for identity management as well. So just one of the three. It's a good starting point. The princess, I like the topic. It is new for TikTok. Yes, indeed. I'm connected with a lot of cybersecurity recruiters. How do I DM them and connect for opportunities? What do you mean, how do you DM? You just message them. As long as you know, it's all about being respectful. It's about, you know, showcasing the skills and knowledge that you have built, what you've done so far, and how you could help your organizations. But, you know, I just sent you a request on LinkedIn. Yep, cool, good stuff. Sinatra says, I'm trying to decide whether I go straight for AZ500 or take the AZ104 first. I'm a novice at Azure. Well, it all depends on your goals, Sinatra, what you're trying to do. Because, was it AZ? Azure Administrator. Well, I wouldn't necessarily do 104. Again, as I say, it depends on the goals. If you want to do, want to be a SOC analyst, I would say do SC 200. If you want to go into more security engineering and stuff like that, then AZ 500. John Hammond is not necessarily for SOC analysts, Luke. John Hammond does CTF, so I wouldn't say that's specifically for SOC analysts. I'm doing A+2 and the options made me think I was wasting my time, but thanks for assurance. Yeah, you're definitely not wasting your time. Would you know about DDI? I don't know nothing about DDI. So if I want to go into cybersecurity, I have to learn how cybersecurity work. I'm not sure I understand the question, Ace. Would you recommend to get SSCP? Zadar, I wouldn't recommend to get any certificate. You know, I would recommend getting skills if you want to. But, I always say, once you go 2 or 3 certificates, I wouldn't get anything unless you are already in work. I often say, guys, the most important thing what you need to do is get one certificate such as Security Plus, but then it's all about skills. Once you are already working for organizations and in cybersecurity industry, then you can do whatever certs you want, where you want your career to go, but then you get your employers to pay for it. Don't waste money on cybersecurity certificates. It's not like badge collecting honor or something that, the more you're going to get, the better you're going to be. No. All the certs prove that you can answer multiple choice questions. Anyone can do that. Doesn't mean that you can do the job. Don says, please kindly keep doing educational lives like these. You are changing lives. Well, yeah, no problem, Don. Yeah, that's the goal. We're trying to help, I guess, remove uncertainty. I think too many people have been sold bad advice. They've been sold the dream about stuff, so I think it's important to shine the light and help people in this space. And the main goal is, guys, hopefully most of you is going to build some amazing cybersecurity careers. You're going to become, experts, and then hopefully you can teach the next generation. So pay it forward. Which link is for home lab? What do you mean, which link? I don't know what you're talking about, Mr. DDO. There is no link. You have to build your home lab. What can we learn in this life? Anything you want, Cyprian. I don't know what you're trying to learn. Cybersecurity Q&A. We answer cybersecurity questions about people who are trying to break into cybersecurity, people who want to learn about cybersecurity, people who want to, change their careers, people who are, working towards cybersecurity, or even, professionals. We talk various kind of things. So I'm going to do probably more thematic lives because there was questions and people asked to do, lives about looking at CVs, maybe practicing interview questions, because I've done some videos about, how to prepare and how to answer cybersecurity interviews, because I think, just memorizing the answer is not necessarily the best way to do it. So yeah. Potentially, Ab says I've sent DMs before and ignored, which I know is normal. Yeah, guys, I get tens or sometimes hundreds of DMs a day, and especially, I think I published a video before. I'm never going to answer DM where people messaging me saying, "Coach me in cybersecurity" or "Teach me cybersecurity." There is hundreds of them. When and ever I would have a time to coach one-on-one people into cybersecurity. That's why I'm doing these lives to. I can't coach you guys. I think that's why I published even a video before where I said, look, if you are asking someone to coach me cybersecurity, if you are asking someone, give me the full roadmap to cybersecurity is not for you, because cybersecurity requires curiosity, requires to do a lot of work and find your own information. You need to do a lot of graft. People think, cybersecurity is not a career where, things are going to be given to you on a plate. It requires a lot of work, and it requires you to, you can't figure it out even, simple things like, what role you want to do in cybersecurity instead of just, thinking cybersecurity is one and all thing. I often say I guide people, but I guide people who are purposeful, who are curious, who actually done a bit of homework instead of, expecting someone else to do things for them. Says, I'm really interested in sysadmin role. Not gonna lie, it looks really interesting. Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, sysadmin is a great start. I always say, sometimes if you're completely new to technology, going somewhere like help desk sysadmin is a great start, you know, because you can probably learn or get help desk or sysadmin role much quicker than cybersecurity. So then you can, you know, you can practice and learn the fundamentals of technology while still building your security career. Matthew TV says, is SEC Plus or AWS Solution Architect better for cloud security engineer as a beginner? Well, SEC Plus is a generic security certificate, so it doesn't really necessarily help you being cloud security engineer. AWS Solution Architect, again, that's not a security certificate. It's a solution architecture certificate. If you want to be cloud security engineer, you need to do AWS security specialty, Matthew. Adam says, hi, I'm a CS student, got no knowledge about this field. How do I jump into cybersecurity? We start at the very beginning. CompTIA A+, Adam, Network Plus, then Security Plus. I've got an interview soon for help desk support. Do you have any tips on the questions they'll ask? They'll probably ask generic questions about computers, about, you know, but the main thing is they'll ask how you think, how you would, you know, troubleshoot the problems, how can you find answers, how you're going to talk to customers. I think that's the biggest thing. That, you know, you don't necessarily need to memorize and know everything, but you need to be able to answer how you're going to think, how you're going to solve problems. That's the biggest thing. Mabob says, how do I know which specific cybersecurity job is best for me? By researching what each job does. You need to do the work, Mabobs. You need to understand what each role entails. What do they do? Where does your skill and your personality aligns with, you know? Are you good at writing documentations, policies, and stuff like that? GRC. Are you good at analyzing, problem solving? SOC. You know, it all depends what you've done, where your kind of strengths lies. Bro, when did you start cybersecurity and what do you mean? I started cybersecurity 10 years ago, KB. So I was working in physical security. I knew that career wasn't really going to go anywhere. So I built my self-learning path, and that's why, you know, I've been advocating. I've done A+, Network Plus, Security Plus, and I think I've done one Azure Security Cert. I built my home labs, you know, I did loads of Try Hack Me rooms. You know, built my home lab, which I, you know, shared the YouTube video with you guys previously. With Kali Linux, Wazoo, and Windows Server. And, you know, practice various kind of attacks, analyze the attacks through Wireshark, through Wazoo. You know, did vulnerability management, all kinds of exercises. And, you know, until I landed my first cybersecurity job, which took me 8 months. So from start to finish, it was 8 months. So I recently switched to cybersecurity and earned my CH to become a pen test after 2 months of applying to OPSEC APT roles with no success due to experience. Yeah, you know, Fami, I keep saying time and time again, CH is the worst certificate for a pen test, first of all. And secondly, pen testing and offensive security is not an entry-level role. There's almost zero chance that you're going to land an offensive security or pen testing role coming with no experience. And that's why I always say, hacking is not a starting point in your career. You can get there, but that's not at the entry-level role. Do you think degree in computer science in cybersecurity is worth obtaining and would help me? I you know, I keep mentioning, and I said it many times, I don't think you need or you should do a degree if you want to work in cybersecurity, especially not in the beginning. You know, as I said, I just explained my path. You know, it took me 8 months to land my first cybersecurity job. A degree is minimum 3 years, and no degree guarantees you to get a job. You still need skills. So, you know, if you want, you can do a degree further down the line, but it's not a necessity for a career in cybersecurity. Cyprian says, I'm doing DDI and cybersecurity for 16 years now. Okay, cool. Good stuff. How do I know which specific cybersecurity you were on respect? Yeah, no problem, Cyprian. As cybersecurity, which jobs will reconnect with non-technical that is less stressful? Anything to do with GRC, Fahy. Do people in threat intelligence make good detectives and interrogators? No. Threat intelligence does not involve you working with people and interrogating people. So no, Matthew. A cybersecurity student, which jobs will recommend with non-technical jobs? We already answered this. I'm referring to LinkedIn DMs of being ignored by recruiters. Okay. Yeah, sometimes you're going to be ignored. And because the problem you have to understand, again, Abs, if you are just starting your career in the beginning, no recruiter is going to work or reply to you, because no company is going to go to a recruiter to recruit them or recruit for entry-level roles. There's no point, for companies to pay money to recruiters for entry-level jobs. So that's why it's probably, doesn't happen much. They don't reply. See what's on YouTube as well. Hi, Sarah. What about bug bounty? What about, Kieran? I'm not sure what you mean about, what's the question about bug bounty? Parsi says, I have a question. Which bug I have to learn for bug bounty because I'm new for this field? There is no specific bug, and it's not about learning about bugs. It's about learning how to read code, how to find vulnerabilities in a code. It's not about bugs as such. Does AI will take over cybersecurity? No, it does not. I think this is just a marketing nonsense that people keep talking about, that AI is going to take over cybersecurity. No, it will not. Craig says, I hold AWS AI cert, CCP, Sec+, Terraform associate. I use Proxmox as a home lab with Kali. Possible roles. If you have no experience, Craig, I would say starting in SOC is probably the best way, best entry level, because there's more chances of landing a SOC role. And then depending on what you want to do afterwards, I'll probably move into security engineering after a couple of years of experience in a SOC. I learned how to create an uncensored AI and integrate it into Kali. Cool, good stuff. Good to see people. That's the kind of level of stuff you need to be at sometimes. Where you need to, experiment, learn, practice, play around with things, break things, understand how things work. That's the best way you're going to learn. Do you think cloud or security engineering is better field to get into 2026? Well, that's completely two different things, because cloud engineering, it's a IT job, and security engineering is security, field. But security engineering is always going to be popular, and it's always going to be a need for it. But again, going to security engineering from zero is fairly tough, and requires a lot more expertise and skills than going into SOC and then moving into engineering. What corporations did you work for? I worked for a number of companies, from Domino's to Burberry to some retail stuff, and I'm currently working for a fintech as a CISO, Cyprian. Moho says, just on my SOC analyst course, which certification should it go for first? Doesn't matter which certification. The only certificate you need is Security Plus, Moha. But, you started SOC analyst course. Do you know and understand computers inside out? Do you have networking knowledge? That's the most important thing that you can't skip. Victor says, I wonder if I should go for the security engineer and I study network and IT security. Yeah, well, security engineering, Victor, is definitely a good route and a good place to be at, for sure. Yeah, exactly, Cyprian. Yeah. TikTok is for everything, but we can also educate people on TikTok and interact and teach people. There's becoming a lot more information, and I think sometimes there's a lot of false information. So hopefully, we're trying to remove the negative and lies and trying to help people and teach them what cybersecurity is, how people can get and build cybersecurity careers, hopefully. Toby says, ever since I became a first-line IT engineer, Security Plus seems so straightforward. Well, yeah, exactly. I keep saying about this, Toby. So many people, have been given information, wrong and bad information to, jump straight into Security Plus. You can't unless you actually know well technology, operating systems, hardware, how computers work, how they interact, how networks work. You can't jump straight into Security Plus. You're going to be so lost and you're going to miss so many fundamental information. As you say, doing stuff like help desk, it really builds the important foundations before you jump into cybersecurity. So it's a real, great route. And I think I even shared somewhere a post a couple of weeks ago where someone went straight into cybersecurity and they said, if I redo things, I would have went to help desk first for like 6 months or a year, learn the sort of the basics first, and then move into cybersecurity. And especially, as I always say, it's probably so much easier to get help desk role. So you already are in work. So while you are at help desk, you can continue still studying and preparing for the switch into cybersecurity. So yeah, definitely a good way to go. Keep the questions coming, guys. We still got some time to spend and talk all things cybersecurity. Do certificates help with help desk roles? Yeah, of course they do, BR. But you obviously you only need one kind of certificate. You probably need either A plus. I think A plus is more than enough. A plus, or there is. I think Google has a certificate, some kind of which kind of is very IT kind of fundamental stuff. Toby says, I want to have a strategic plan for getting certs. Which certs do you reckon I go after Sec Plus? Well, there's a key information here missing, Toby. I could never recommend you any certs unless you tell me what you want to do and where do you want to go. Because, each certificate adds something, but they add something to specific roles. The Princess AI will replace a lot of entry jobs. Yeah, it'll replace some. I don't think it not necessarily replaces all the entry level roles, but I think there's just it's going to kind of remove some of the basic roles, and entry level is going to become probably a different kind of thing, and it require a bit more upskilling as such. I think that's the only thing that's going to kind of change. BR says, gotcha. Working on my AS in cybersecurity. Is Google's A+ different than others? I'm not sure Google has A+. A+ is from CompTIA. Tell them about being a prompt engineer. Well, Cyprian, I think being prompt engineer is very limited time scale. I think prompt engineering is going to disappear as such, very quickly, because AI is developing at such a speed that you're not going to have any jobs being prompt engineer. Especially now, I know, and I've done some research, there are companies who are building sort of AI kind of routing protocols, because obviously now we have, you have Claude, you have ChatGPT, you have Gemini. There's going to be a time very soon, because I already saw prototypes that are being released, where you're going to ask a question, and then based on AI's model strength, it's going to route to specific AI that's the best for that specific answer. So, whether it's going to go to Claude Code, whether it's going to go to ChatGPT, whether it's going to go to Perplexity, it's all going to be determined and routed on to kind of front-end AI. So the prompt engineering is going to very quickly die, I think. Hey, freshman here, are IAM certifications good? Well, they're good if you want to be an IAM specialist. Yeah, they work. Toby, do you offer any Security Plus practice questions or any long-term learning courses? No, I do not. But if you, I'm gonna set up. I need to actually set up a bot on this chat because I've got a list of books, and I'm gonna put a list of courses of where to get. From my experience, where the best are Security Plus courses, where you get Security Plus practice exams and stuff like that. So I'm gonna set it all up. So if people want, I can share them. There's a call agent role for public transport where I can change passwords count as help desk. It really depends, Matthew. Are you just changing passwords or are you doing anything to do with computers? More with computers. Are you actually troubleshooting and fixing computer problems? Then yes. If no, then if just passwords, then not necessarily. Is CompSci a better foundation than cybersecurity? No, because computer science is basically mostly is for software development. So I wouldn't say it is better. It's not a foundation; it's a degree. I always say, you guys, you don't need a degree to go into cybersecurity. Tell me, my path starting now: A+ network security, home lab, try hack me projects. What I have left. The only thing you are missing, Tambi, is LinkedIn. All of this is great, but you need to make sure every week post at least 2-3 times of what you learned from your A+. How does that help you to learn subjects? How you learn, say, about what does RAM do? Well, post it on LinkedIn, share to people, share how you are developing your skills, connect with people, message people. Grow your network, because LinkedIn is going to be the most important thing when you get to job search. How to use AI and what is the needed to learn? Yeah, I think Cyprian, it calls out an important thing. AI is not going to replace people, but I think what is going to do is AI is here to stay, and I think one thing where you need to kind of be aware of. AI is not going to replace people, but people are going to be replaced who can't use AI versus those who can. So AI is going to be a great help and a sort of, an assistant to people, but you need to learn how to use AI and how to leverage it, how to write correct and proper prompts, how to verify AI as output, because it still hallucinates and things like that. Lerato says, Cisco has a junior cybersecurity analyst path. Is it good to becoming a SOC analyst? Lerato, I would say, yes, you can learn some great stuff from it, but just because you do this path, you're not going to become a SOC analyst. You need way more than some path on a Cisco Academy course. You need to build home labs. You need to pass at least a Security Plus certificate. And you need a lot of skills and knowledge, which I always say, practicing building a home lab. I know people who pass Sec Plus so easily. I'm struggling with Sec Plus. Should I start with A+? Yeah, Matthew, if you just started with Sec Plus and you have got networking knowledges, you haven't got Network Plus knowledge and A+ knowledge, Security Plus is going to be a struggle. And I always say, you can't go straight into Security Plus. I don't know where and how you got this advice, but that's a very bad move. Do you offer any attachment in your company? What do you mean, any attachment? What does that mean, Tom? So taking a year to obtain A+, Sec+, CCNA, Net Plus is more beneficial than pursuing a degree in comp science, ISEC? Yes, in my eyes, yes, because I said, I said previously in the beginning of a stream, it took me 8 months to land my first cybersecurity job. I've done these 3, plus I think 1 Azure cert, then built home labs and built my LinkedIn, and I got a job. You're going to be in university for 3 years, while after a year, you could be already in a job. And if you want, down the line, you can definitely do a degree. You can do an online degree while working. Moa says, I have MSc in computer science and just starting to get my SOC certifications. Good stuff. Software development is 90% replaced by AI. No, it's not, Cyprian. It's not even close to 90%. Yes, there is AI doing software development, but it's not going to be replaced. It's still. I've seen firsthand, how woeful is AI at building a code. Yes, it can develop, but the problem is, as so many people are, yes, they are vibe coding, but unless you understand and know how to read the code, unless you can understand security requirements for the code, AI is not going to build a great thing yet, and we're still fairly far away from that. Is A+ and Network Plus crucial before Sec Plus? Yes, Matthew, it is crucial. It's not necessarily you need to have those certificates, Matthew, but it's crucial to know the knowledge from it. Matthew says, hi, I'm just joined. What route would you suggest to get IT knowledge before getting into cybersecurity? Mathis, A+ and Network Plus from CompTIA. Okay. I don't think it's, I assume it's being used, Cyprian, but I don't think it's necessarily completely replaced. There's still a lot of developers, and I see a lot of, development. AI is too much risky, and especially, shifting code into production from AI is, I don't see that happening straight away. Good stuff, Matthew. I'm just starting to learn Kali. Am I late? No, you're never late. Many people are moving from computer science to database because AI is able to do a lot in computer science. Yeah, exactly. I think not necessarily database, but data science is going to be a big field in very near future, and obviously the people are paying exorbitant amounts of money with this new AI craze. So yeah. Lil Vidi says, what do you think about, I'm not sure, what can I say? It's the same thing as asking, what do you think about computer? Well, ransomware is a type of attack. You have to be more specific. VDK, I'm not sure what does that question mean. Yeah, potentially there's gonna be a lot less entry jobs for programmers. But again, there'll come a point where you'll need to have something, because otherwise you're not going to get experienced programmers if you're not going to build entry-level roles. I says, I get nervous when trying to choose an area of expertise. AWS, Azure, etc. However, I do find GRC very interesting, and it seems to be more broadly applicable. What's your take? I mean, it really depends. I guess, if you are more prone to sort of, as I say, policies, documents, assessments, then yeah, GRC is a great place. If you are more technical and actually want to stay technical and play with, engineering and that kind of level stuff, then you obviously want to go down that route. It really depends what your preference is. Loads of people love being technical. Other people love working in GRC, doing risk assessments, policies, compliance and stuff, so it all depends. Yeah, it says, what is your recommend computers for beginner cybersecurity? Doesn't matter about what computer you have. Yes. Hey Jay, is the dark web used in ethical hacking? No, Matthew. Dark web is not used in ethical hacking. Dark web is used for all the bad stuff that's illegal. Do recruiters look at GitHub repos? No, recruiters definitely don't look at GitHub repos because they don't have a clue what to look for there. Hiring managers might do, but not recruiters. There is no right way, Lerato. I guess it's just, explaining what you've done, explaining that you actually understood the stuff that you learned and the stuff that you've done. So I think that's the most important thing, being explicit and explaining how you completed exercises, how you built the labs, what you've learned from them. That's kind of the most important thing. Jay says, I sent you a PM asking for advice. It depends on what kind of message you send, Jay, but as I said many times, I don't have enough time to answer all of the DMs because I get too many of them. So I'm answering questions therefore here on live instead of DMs and comments. Do you think companies will move 100% to cloud soon? Shula says. Well, I think the latest statistic shows that 95% of companies are hybrid. So I don't think all the companies are going to move 100% to cloud because, there are still massive legacy organizations, and there's still massive manufacturing plants and stuff like that where some on-premise is still needed. But yeah, most organizations have cloud presence, whether it's small or big, it depends. But yeah, definitely. Different says, IT is passion. Use it not for money. It does work only for money. Job. Yeah, exactly. I've been talking about this a lot, Cyprian. I think so many people, been lied and been told, oh, you just get one certificate and you're gonna get a 6-figure salary in cybersecurity. That's not the case. Journey and entry into cybersecurity is hard and it requires a lot of work. And the people come here with a lot of wrong assumptions and they think that it's going to be easy, just done one certificate and all of a sudden I'm going to be a cybersecurity expert. No chance. I can't be a teacher, but I can certainly help answering questions on here. I wonder, is it worth preparing for CCNA and getting into networking market? It depends, Jay. It depends on what is your goal and what you want to achieve. If you want to work in cybersecurity, then I wouldn't necessarily advise. I think there's a lot of people arguing with me, but again, CCNA is very Cisco specific, and it's very in depth. I don't necessarily think that you need that much networking, proper in depth expertise, and specifically with one specific hardware. But if you actually want to go into networking, then yeah, of course, it's only going to help. Some people say that everyone will move to the cloud and sec professionals will not be needed anymore. Well, whoever says that, Julia, they don't have a clue what they're talking about. I work for a company. We are 100% in the cloud, but there's no chance they could work without security professionals. Cloud is not secure. You can't have cloud without security professionals. That's absolutely nonsense. And that's what I'm saying. Loads of people say this kind of nonsense and people listen to it. It's nonsense. Data science courses. First of all, I think there is a steps, Alexei, before you go to data science. So you need to learn kind of fundamentals of databases and stuff like that. So you need to learn, I think there are courses about, SQL courses. You need to learn Python. You're kind of adding bits and bobs because, for example, when I built, when I trained before and built my own AI and trained my own AI models, you need to be fairly familiar how to use Python. You need to understand how, databases interact and how data works. So there is levels to it. But yeah, I would say learn Python, learn SQL, and then kind of look at, what is it? There is AI, what's it called? There is an AI kind of open source kind of AI, loads of models, and they have their own courses there. So you can just Google and have a look. But yeah, you can find some courses for that. Armin says, do you think it's a big factor that SaaS companies hacked SOC 2 Type 2, or there should be more? I'm not sure I understand what you mean by that question, Arvin. Big factor for what? And what should be more? I'm not sure where you're going, Arvin, with that question. Do you recommend going to college for cybersecurity? No, I do not recommend going to college. Yeah, exactly, Cyprian. Which tech field do you recommend for college, please, and why? None. I don't recommend any tech field for anything going college. Don't waste 3 years and shit ton of money going to university. Do I require CCNA to get into cybersecurity? No, you definitely do not. 25 too late to build technical skills for cybersecurity. I can't code still. No, Matthew. As I said, I started cybersecurity when I was 30. So it's definitely not too late. Cool. What's the best way to get into GRC? I don't have a roadmap project, but what you need to do is you need to, first of all, learn compliance frameworks such as NIST RMF, NIST CSF. You need to learn and understand and probably get one certificate. You get ISO 27001 lead auditor. You need to understand and learn how to write and how policies looks like, how to assess cybersecurity programs. I think further down the line, there's a certificate called CISA, but there is another one where you can do from, is it CCSP? Which, no, not CCSP. What's the other one then? CCSK. It's a good cert as well. But yeah, that's kind of, there is no necessarily a roadmap for you. There is a course now. Somebody just built a course specifically for GRC. Is it called something like CGRC? Have a look at that. Hey, 1010. I mean, having a vendor without SOC 2 Type 2 is okay for SaaS company to trust our data. Well, again, SOC 2, is good, but there are other ways to, assess, for example, whenever I think about working with a specific vendor or with specific company, I have a specific security questionnaire. How do we assess a company's security posture? Yes, obviously, if it has SOC 2 and if it has ISO 27001, it makes it easier to kind of trust the vendor. It's a kind of, it's an industry standard, Aaron, but yeah, but there are other ways to assess companies, based on your kind of requirements. Are they doing pen testing? Do they have SDLC? Do they have, vulnerability management program? Do they have information security management system? How do they doing risk management? All of that can sort of ascertain whether their security posture is good enough to trust your data. How easy is it to make 100,000 USD in cybertech? Very easy. Yeah, no problem. Do you think it's worth learning AI deeply for cyber? I don't think it's worth learning deeply, but I think you definitely need. It's probably definitely going to be helpful in the near future. Depending obviously what level and field you're going to be working in. But it's good to understand how AI works, understand how you can secure AI. For example, exploring. I often use Databricks AI security framework to, for example, assess security vulnerabilities. Understand, for example, if you're building an AI system, where things can go wrong, from identity management, from model storage to access to data poisoning attacks and stuff like that. So it's good to understand to that level. I said, so I got my Linux dedicated laptop and reading Aussie the web's books while preparing for A plus. I'm on a good track. Is it too early to start home labs? If not, what are good home labs for newbies? No, it's never to start. You know, the earlier you start with home labs, the better. It's obviously going to be a bit more difficult because if you are still on A plus, you still don't understand networking and public security fundamentals. But you can practice. You know, you can build stuff. You know, home labs. The best home lab is, you know, get a PC that has at least 16 gigs of RAM, and Kali Linux, Wazoo. So one machine for Kali Linux, one machine for Wazoo, and one for like vulnerable Windows server. That's your home lab. I had started learning web development, but I want to transition to cybersecurity. Where do I start? You start at the very beginning. Hakeem, doing A plus, Network plus, and Security plus from theory fundamentals, and then you jump into building skills, building a home lab, practicing on Try Hack Me, Hack the Box, Let's Defend platforms, and stuff like that. Nardo says laptop specs ain't great, 4 gig of RAM and 500 HDD. Which OS would you recommend for doing cyber labs? Well, if you're gonna build your home labs, Lerato, that's not enough. You need at least 16 gigs of RAM. So, you know, I would look at like mini PCs, or even, you know, the thing is you can probably build your own PC, and no, I mean, nowadays obviously it's going to be much harder because RAM just went through the roof. But, you know, everything else can be anything. The only thing is you're going to need is RAM. So, yeah. Matthew says, is the 8th month you spent learning, what did a normal day study look like? Well, it looked like kind of like this, I would say, Matthew. It was probably every single pretty much day when I was working full time, remember, still. So I used to work 4 days, 12-hour shifts, and then 4 days off. So on those 4 days off, it used to be at least hour and a half on whether it's A plus, Network plus, Security plus videos while taking notes. It used to be at least, you know, 3-4 rooms on Try Hack Me. Every day a post on LinkedIn, adding connections on LinkedIn, and then used to be, you know, practicing on home labs. You know, again, maybe another hour, like trying attacks using, you know, Metasploit to run attacks on Windows Server, you know, using Wireshark to look how attacks look from a networking perspective. Then you can look for Wazoo, how they look on endpoint perspective, looking at the SIEM to see how they how this all of that correlates, you know, installing OpenVAS, running vulnerability management. You know, I was learning MITRE ATT&CK framework as well at the same point. So that's kind of the days how it looked like. Peter says, how should I use AI, or what should I learn that can help me in the future? I just answered that question, I think, already. You need to understand and learn how to secure AI. And also, obviously, how to do good prompt engineering and how to write the specific prompts. That's going to help you. Albert says, where do I learn cybersecurity? Well, you can learn anywhere. You learn from the courses, as I said. A plus, Security plus, Network plus. Shula says, build a home lab with SecOnion. Should I switch to Wazoo? No, you can. SecOnion is pretty much, you know, it pretty much does the same thing. You can. The only thing I would say is you can probably install Wazoo on SecOnion, because SecOnion is a distro. You know, Wazoo it can be your SIEM and it can be your EDR. So kind of it's a 2-in-1. But you don't need to switch distro specifically for that. You can just install Wazoo. Posting on LinkedIn, also a motivational tool, studies documented and working for you. Yeah, exactly. LinkedIn is not only that, you know, don't forget, LinkedIn is great for learning from people, is great to commenting on other posts and interacting. It's also great to sharing, you know, what you've learned, because don't forget, you know, there's always someone one step behind you. So potentially you are helping others also via your sharing information and how you are learning. So, you know, it's always a great stuff. Is it better to train on Metasploitable than on the TryHackMe platform? Not necessarily, BL. I mean, these are two completely different things. You have to remember. There's nothing you can train on Metasploitable. Metasploitable is a hacking tool essentially, which allows you to run attacks. You know, TryHackMe, you learn the whole paths of all kinds of different things. Metasploitable is good because, and I always say using in my home labs is because you can create an attack, and for example, you can install an old Windows server that, for example, is still vulnerable to the blue screen of death. So you can run blue screen of death attack through using Metasploitable, and then you can see how the attacks looks via Wireshark. You can see how it looks from endpoint perspective on Wazoo. You can see whether it stopped or not, and if it didn't stop, how you're going to create security analytics and rules to block this attack from happening in the future. That's a great security SOC analyst skill that you need to learn while doing home labs. And you're not necessarily going to learn that on TryHackMe. TryHackMe is completely different things that you're going to learn. Oli says, I'm a junior in cybersecurity with no certs. Should I focus on certs right now or get an entry-level job? Well, you need to focus on kind of both, Oli. I think the more, as I always say, you only need one cert in my perspective. You need Security Plus, but depends what your skills are. If you don't have no knowledge, you need to learn everything about computers from A+. You need to learn networking from Network Plus, and then get one certificate, which is Security Plus. And then you need to stack and build skills in order to be able to land your first security job. What is a home lab I should build? I already answered that, Albert. Saga says, got my Sec Plus AZ900, was thinking to do SC200. Is the right move? Saga, right move for what? There is no right move unless you have a right move for something specifically. Yeah, no problem, Bill. I'm 15. What do I need to learn now? More tech like networking and OS or Python? No, you don't need to learn Python now. Python, as I always say, guys, Python is very specific only if you're going to do hacking or you're going to get to become a senior engineer. Nobody uses Python in a SOC. Very important distinction, F. Net Plus is not necessary to have a certificate, but it's very necessary to know all of the Network Plus knowledge. Never start, if you're a newbie, never start with just Security Plus. You're absolutely gonna miserably fail. I have a dual boot, Kali, exploring my network, finding vulnerabilities, want to turn my hobby into a job. Good stuff, yeah. I've got dual, I used to run as well, dual boot. Kali and Windows. Yeah, good stuff. Like I'm just starting out. I'm second semester and I have 2 years for me to learn. Does this feel good? Like good or very difficult, or the beginner like I can do hard work? Yes, I said Wazoo. Correct, I. Okay, good stuff. Good stuff for them. I have a computer information systems bachelor's degree. What website to use for entry jobs? No website. You're not gonna find cybersecurity jobs just having a degree. I can guarantee you that, Kyosho. There you go. No, that's a better question, Sagar. If you want to get into SOC, yes, SC200 is a good cert. It's specifically designed to become a SOC analyst using all of the Microsoft security tools. So yeah, SC200 is a decent addition if you want to go down that route and if you got the money for it. I always say you don't necessarily need certificates for entry level role apart from Security Plus. But yeah, if you got the money and if you got the time, SC200 is a good route to go there. Yes. It's simple, Matthew. You have to understand what you're doing. Matthew, okay, just for other platforms as well, just to say, Matthew says, what motivates you? You said before you were working 12-hour shifts while studying on your days off. It's not about smartness. I keep saying, guys, it's not about smartness. It's about dedication, perseverance, and hard work. That's the most important thing. Anyone can learn this, but you have to do a lot of hard work and a lot of hard graft and yards. As I said, as I just explained, I used to study at least 3 to 4 hours every single day on my days off. So, I work 4 days of 12 hours in physical security, and on 4 days off, it's a non-stop learning. And it was a lot of hard work. It's a lot of understanding. It's a lot of, not knowing. It's a lot of, asking questions. There's a lot of, troubleshooting and a lot of, thinking like I'm never going to get anywhere. But, as long as you persevere, you get there. Motivation was that, I knew that getting into cybersecurity, I'm going to get into a field where, physical security is not necessarily about, your brain or stuff like that. But cybersecurity, I knew that there's going to be a place or a field where I'm going to be appreciated for being smart, being proactive, being hardworking. And, I knew that potentially I have an ability to transform my life. So, it was inner motivation to continuously keep grinding. Good stuff, Sega. Close to graduating in May with a BBA in Information Systems. Any advice to getting into CS? Yes, Jose, you need to do learn the material from Security Plus and then build a home lab. Hey, what's up, Ngusi? What is the smartest answer about what is cybersecurity? Smartest? You don't need to have the smartest answer. You need to have the best answer that explains to people who don't have a clue. Cybersecurity essentially is a field where, how to explain, probably even simply, it's just about protecting data and computer systems from cyber risks, from hackers, from attackers, and making sure that, businesses can continue to operate while still making money and achieving their goals. And learning if I want to get into IAM. If you want to get into IAM, then, you need to do specific industry or tool-specific certs. Okta has a certificate. SailPoint has a certificate. Microsoft has one certificate that's specifically for identity and access management. Which is better, going pro on Metasploit and Wireshark or learn different tools? Well, there is no better. You need to learn all of them. You need to learn Metasploit. You need to learn Wireshark. You need to learn SIEM. You need to learn EDR. You need to learn vulnerability management tools. Do you think there could be an oversaturation of cybersecurity profession in the next 5 years? No. No, it won't be, because I can see my DMs, my comments are filled with people who says, please teach me cybersecurity. These people who are not curious, who are not proactive, and who do not, who not find answers for themselves, they're never going to end up in cybersecurity. So no, it won't be a saturation. But yeah, with that in mind, guys, I'm going to have to shoot. I'm going to love you and leave you, but I'm going to let you know when the next live is. I'm going to, as I said before, guys, I'm going to prepare probably some themes about, I'm going to do probably some lives about interview preparation, about how to prepare your CVs and stuff like that. But yeah, it was great chatting with you guys. As always, I'm going to love you and leave you. Have a great evening. I'll let you know when the next live is, and I'm going to catch you then.